World War I, 1914–1918. World War I, also known as the Great War, was a global conflict involving many powers. Two groups of allies and central forces were present in this war. The allies initially included France, Russia, and Great Britain. Later, Italy and America joined the Allies. The central powers consisted of Germany, Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria. Many causes led to the war, but it began with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, by a Serbian nationalist. First, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Then Germany declared war on Russia and France. Germany invaded Belgium, which caused Britain to declare war on Germany. In this way, a great war happened in the world, and finally, on November 11, 1918, an armistice was signed. World War II, 1939–1945. World War II was the deadliest and most extensive war in history. The cause of the war was the unresolved issues of World War I and the rise of dictators such as Hitler and Benito Mussolini. France, Poland, Great Britain, and later the Soviet Union and the United States were allies. While the Axis powers included Germany, Italy, Japan, and several smaller countries. The war started with Germany's invasion of Poland, which caused Britain and France to declare war on Germany. The Soviet Union also invaded eastern Poland. In 1941, Germany invaded the Soviet Union, opening one of the biggest fronts of the war, and in the same year, Japan attacked the U.S. naval base in Hawaii, bringing the United States into the war. Finally, after several years of war, Germany was defeated by the Soviet Union, and in 1945, Berlin was captured by the Soviet Union. Hitler committed suicide, and Germany surrendered. In the same year, the United States dropped the atomic bomb on Japan, causing Japan to surrender. It is estimated that 70 to 80 million people lost their lives. American Civil War, 1861–1865. In the mid-19th century, the United States was torn apart by deep divisions over slavery and states' rights, leading to the secession of southern states and the formation of the Confederacy. And the northern states formed the Union. The conflict erupted in 1861 when Confederate forces attacked Fort Sumter. After various conflicts, President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 redefined the war's purpose, emphasizing the abolition of slavery. The relentless Union campaigns, including Sherman's devastating March to the Sea, weakened the Confederacy. The war culminated in 1865 when General Lee, the commander of the Confederate Army, surrendered to General Grant, the commander of the Union Army, at the Appomattox Courthouse, ending slavery and ending the war. Vietnam War, 1955–1975. The Vietnam War saw North Vietnam and its communist allies clashing with South Vietnam and the United States. Fueled by Cold War tensions, the United States intervened to prevent the spread of communism and escalated after the Gulf of Tonkin incident, the attack on U.S. naval ships by North Vietnam. President Nixon's Vietnamization strategy gradually withdrew U.S. forces, but the war ended when North Vietnamese forces captured the South Vietnamese capital, Saigon, in 1975, leading to Vietnam's reunification under communist rule. Napoleonic Wars. The Napoleonic Wars, spanning from 1803 to 1815, saw Napoleon Bonaparte's French Empire striving to dominate Europe against various coalitions of opposing nations. Among the wars, Austerlitz can be mentioned, where Napoleon achieved a decisive victory and the dissolution of the Holy Roman Empire. The coalition forces gradually gained strength, culminating in his defeat at the Battle of Leipzig and his exile to Elba. Napoleon escaped from Elba, and his final defeat came at the Battle of Waterloo by a coalition force led by the Duke of Wellington and Prussian General Blücher. American Revolutionary War, 1775–1783. The American Revolutionary War began when the 13 colonies rise against British rule, driven by grievances over taxation without representation and British oppression. The conflict began with the battles of Lexington and Concord, and the Continental Congress declared independence in 1776. Despite hardships, the American forces, led by George Washington, persevered. The decisive victory at the Siege of Yorktown in 1781 forced British General Cornwallis to surrender, and the Treaty of Paris in 1783 officially ended the war, granting the United States independence and establishing a new nation. Korean War, 1950–1953. After World War II, Korea was divided along the 38th parallel, with the Soviet Union occupying the north and the United States occupying the south. The war began when North Korea, with the support of the Soviet Union and China, attacked South Korea and quickly advanced and seized Seoul. The United Nations, led by the United States, intervened to support the South, halting the North Korean advance at the Pusan perimeter. After years of fierce battles and failed peace talks, an armistice was signed in 1953, establishing the Korean Demilitarized Zone, DMZ, along the 38th parallel and leaving the peninsula divided, a situation that persists to this day. Trojan War, 12th century BCE. The Trojan War, a legendary conflict from Greek mythology, began when Paris of Troy abducted Helen, the wife of Spartan king Menelaus. In response, the Greeks, led by Agamemnon, launched a massive expedition to retrieve her, besieging Troy for 10 years. The war saw epic battles, including the duel between Achilles and Hector, which ended with Hector's death. The Greeks ultimately triumphed through cunning, using a wooden horse to infiltrate and sack Troy. They built a large wooden horse and hid soldiers inside it, leaving it as a mock offering to the gods while they pretended to retreat. At night, the soldiers dismounted and led to the fall of Troy. Spanish Civil War, 1936–1939. Began when General Francisco Franco led a military coup against Spain's democratically elected government. The country split between the Republicans, who supported the Republic, and the Nationalists, who backed Franco. Despite fierce resistance from the Republicans and international volunteers, the Nationalists, aided by Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy, gradually gained ground. The bombing of the Basque town of Guernica by German aircraft shocked the world and became a symbol of the war's brutality, famously depicted in Picasso's painting. In 1939, Franco's forces captured Madrid, leading to the Republic's fall. Franco established a dictatorship that would last until his death in 1975. Crimean War, 1853–1856. The Crimean War began when Russia sought to expand its influence over the weakening Ottoman Empire, prompting a coalition of Britain, France, and Sardinia to intervene. One of the longest and most important engagements of the war was the year-long siege of Sevastopol, in which the Allies sought to capture the strategic port, which they finally succeeded after nearly a year, dealing a significant blow to Russian capabilities and morale. The war ended with the Treaty of Paris, which demilitarized the Black Sea and restored territories to the Ottoman Empire, significantly limiting Russian influence in the region. Russian Civil War, 1917–1922. The Russian Civil War erupted after the Bolsheviks seized power in the October Revolution. The conflict pitted the Red Army, led by Lenin and Trotsky, against the White Army, a diverse group of anti-Bolshevik forces supported by foreign allies. Battles raged across the country, with major confrontations on the eastern and southern fronts. Despite early victories, the White Army's disunity and logistical problems led to their defeat. The war saw widespread devastation, mass casualties, and significant political repression. By 1923, the Bolsheviks had secured victory, establishing the Soviet Union. Six-Day War. In June 1967, rising tensions between Israel and its Arab neighbors erupted into the Six-Day War. Israel, facing the threat of an imminent attack, launched a preemptive airstrike that decimated the Egyptian Air Force. Swift ground offensives followed, with Israeli forces capturing the Sinai Peninsula and Gaza Strip from Egypt, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. Within 6 days, Israel had dramatically expanded its territory. The war ended with a UN-brokered ceasefire, leaving a lasting impact on the Middle East. Punic Wars, 264–146 BCE. The Punic Wars were a series of 3 fierce conflicts between Rome and Carthage for control of the Mediterranean. The First Punic War saw Rome's naval prowess triumph over Carthage, gaining Sicily. In the Second Punic War, the brilliant Carthaginian general Hannibal crossed the Alps and won stunning victories, but Rome, under Scipio Africanus, ultimately defeated him at Zama. The Third Punic War ended with Rome's complete destruction of Carthage, turning its lands into a Roman province. These wars cemented Rome's dominance in the region and paved the way for its expansion into a mighty empire. Hundred Years' War, 1337–1453. The Hundred Years' War was a protracted struggle between England and France over the French throne and territorial claims. It began when English King Edward III asserted his right to the French crown. Early on, the English won significant battles like Crécy and Agincourt, but the tide turned with the emergence of Joan of Arc, who inspired French victories and lifted the siege of Orléans. Despite internal strife and the devastation of the Black Death, France ultimately reclaimed its territories, culminating in a decisive victory at the Battle of Castillon. Peloponnesian War, 431–404 BCE. The Peloponnesian War was a devastating conflict between Athens and Sparta, the 2 most powerful Greek city-states. Their competition for dominance and influence across the Greek world set the stage for conflict. Athens, with its strong navy, and Sparta, with its formidable army, clashed repeatedly. The disastrous Athenian expedition to Sicily marked a turning point, severely weakening Athens. Sparta, bolstered by Persian support, ultimately triumphed after defeating the Athenian navy at the Battle of Aegospotami. The war ended with Athens' surrender, altering the balance of power in ancient Greece and leaving both city-states weakened.